The Greyhound station smelled like stale cigarettes and despair. I knew that smell well. It had clung to my clothes for as long as I could remember, woven into the fibers of every secondhand shirt and too tight pair of jeans my mother bothered to buy me. But today, the smell was different. Heavier. Like the air itself was holding its breath. I was 12 years old, and I had just been abandoned. Let me tell you how it happened, because it didn't happen all at once. It happened in 1,000 small moments before it happened in one big one. My mother, Cheryl, was beautiful in the way a knife is beautiful. Sharp edges. A gleam that drew you in before you realized you were bleeding. She'd been 17 when she had me, and she never let me forget it. I gave up my cheerleading scholarship for you. I gave up my body for you. I gave up my life for you. She said it the way someone might say, I gave up a kidney for you, as if I owed her a debt I could never repay. I tried, though. God, did I try. When I was 6, I learned to boil water without burning myself. By 7, I could do a full load of laundry, including folding Steven's work shirts with the creases exactly where he liked them. By 8, I was cooking dinner for a family of 4 while standing on a step stool so I could reach the stove. Steven was my stepfather. He came into our lives when I was 4, and I don't remember my mother ever smiling before him. She smiled at him. She never smiled at me. Steven was a big man with big hands and a quiet way of moving that should have been peaceful but never was. He drank beer from the can Coors Banquet, specifically, and he'd stack the empties in the garage until they formed a glittering amber city. Sometimes he'd forget I existed. Those were good days. Other days, he'd remember. You eat too much. I ate once a day, if I was lucky. You walk too loud. I wore socks on the linoleum. You breathe too much. I started holding my breath when he was in the room. I don't know why he hated me. I don't know if there was a reason. Some people just need someone to hate, and I was the only one in that house who couldn't fight back. Marcus was born when I was 4. My golden brother. My mother's sun, moon, and stars. He had cherubic curls and a laugh like wind chimes, and he never lifted a finger to help around the house. Not once. Not ever. My mother would coo at him while he watched cartoons and then turn to me with a face like carved ice. The dishes aren't done. The floor's dirty. Why are you standing there like a useless lump? I loved Marcus anyway. That was the cruelest part. He was just a kid. It wasn't his fault that he was wanted and I wasn't. Sometimes, when Steven was at work and my mother was in one of her moods where she locked herself in the bedroom for hours, Marcus would crawl into my lap on the couch and pat my face with his sticky little hands and say, "Why I love you." I'd hold him and pretend that was enough. The morning they left me, I knew something was wrong before I opened my eyes. The house was too quiet. No Steven cursing at his coffee maker. No Marcus's cartoons blaring from the living room. No my mother's heels clicking on the linoleum, those sharp, purposeful clicks that always meant I needed to be somewhere else. I got out of bed. The mattress was on the floor of the basement, next to the water heater. I'd slept there since I was 7 after Steven decided that growing girls need their own space. What I really needed was a working lock, but I took what I could get. Upstairs, the kitchen was spotless. That was my job, but I hadn't done it yet. That meant my mother had done it. My mother never did housework. That's what she had me for. I found them in the living room. Steven in his good jeans. My mother in her black dress, the one she wore to funerals and court dates. Marcus in a brand new sweatshirt I'd never seen before, rubbing his eyes. And on the floor by the door, 3 suitcases. 2 large, 1 small. "There she is," my mother said, and her voice was sweet. That was how I knew I was in real danger. When my mother's voice went sweet, it meant she had made a decision about me, and I wasn't going to like it. "Get in the car, Lily." I didn't ask where we were going. I'd learned not to ask questions. Questions meant backtalk, and backtalk meant the basement closet. The one without the light. I got in the back seat. Marcus was already buckled in next to his booster seat, kicking his feet. Steven drove. My mother sat in the passenger seat with her phone in her hand, scrolling. Nobody spoke to me. Nobody looked at me. We drove for 45 minutes. Past the strip malls, past the highway, past the places I knew, into the parts of the city I'd only seen in nightmares. The buildings got grayer. The people on the sidewalks got fewer and then more again, but different. Harder. The kind of people who looked through you instead of at you. Stephen pulled the car to the curb in front of a Greyhound station. The sign was flickering, "Go Greyhound" with the H burned out. "Out," Stephen said. I got out. I was good at following orders. My mother got out too. She walked around to the trunk and pulled out a plastic grocery bag. The cheap white kind with handles. She thrust it into my arms. "There's a change of clothes and some money," she said. "Don't call us. We're done." I stared at her. What? It wasn't backtalk. It wasn't. It was just, I didn't understand. I understood everything else in my life. I understood that Stephen's belt left marks if I flinched. I understood that my mother would pretend not to see the handprints on my arm if it meant keeping the peace. I understood that I was the family's pack mule, its punching bag, its ghost. But I didn't understand this. "You heard me," she said. "We're done. I should have done this years ago. You're nothing but a drain on this family." A reminder of the worst mistake I ever made. Behind her, Stephen revved the engine. "Mom, don't." She stepped back. Her eyes were dry. Her lip wasn't trembling. She looked at me the way you'd look at a piece of furniture you'd finally decided to leave on the curb. "I gave you everything. Everything. And you were never grateful. You were never enough." She got back in the car. The door slammed. Marcus's face appeared in the back window. He waved. A tiny, confused wave. He didn't understand. He was 8 years old. He didn't know that his mother had just left his sister at a bus station with no ticket, no plan, and no way home. The Ford Taurus pulled away from the curb. I watched the taillights disappear around a corner. Then I looked down at the plastic bag in my hands. One pair of jeans. One t-shirt. A granola bar. And $12 in crumpled bills, mostly ones. No coat. No phone charger. No toothbrush. No goodbye. I sat on the bench for a long time. Not because I was waiting for them to come back. I knew they weren't coming back. I hadn't cried when Stephen hit me. I hadn't cried when my mother locked me in the closet. I wasn't going to cry now. But I didn't know what else to do. The Greyhound station was in the gritty downtown, just like my mother said. She wasn't wrong. There was a pawn shop across the street with bars on the windows. A liquor store with a sign that said, "We don't call 911. A man in a wheelchair was yelling at a pigeon. Another man was asleep in a doorway, his face the color of old paper. I was 12. I was 5 feet tall. I weighed 93 pounds, and 10 of those pounds were probably all the hunger I'd swallowed over the years. I counted my options. Option 1, find a shelter. But I didn't know where any were, and even if I did, I'd heard things about shelters. Things my mother used to whisper when she wanted to scare me. "They'll take you away. They'll put you in a group home, and you know what happens to little girls in group homes." Option 2, find a payphone and call someone. But who? My mother had made sure I had no friends. No teachers who cared. No neighbors who'd notice I was gone. She'd isolated me the way you isolate an animal before you put it down. Option 3, sit here until someone found me. And then hope that someone was a social worker and not a man with bad intentions. Option 4, the phone number. I pulled out the track phone my mother had given me for emergencies. The screen was cracked. It had 5 numbers in the contact list: Mom, Stephen, Marcus, which just went to my mother's phone, the local pizza place, and one other. Deadbeat, do not call. My father. I didn't know him. I'd never met him. I'd seen one photograph once, tucked in a box under my mother's bed when I was cleaning. A man with dark hair and a tired smile, holding a baby girl in a pink blanket. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, Lily, 2 weeks. His last visit before he bailed. My mother's stories about him were a consistent loop, played so often they'd worn grooves in my brain. He was a deadbeat from day one. Couldn't hold a job. Couldn't hold his liquor. He lives in a trailer park in Nevada. Panhandles for beer money. I heard he got arrested for something, but who knows? Who cares? He never wanted you. The second I told him I was pregnant, he was gone. Packed a bag and walked out. Left me with nothing. If you ever call him, don't bother coming back. He won't come for you. He doesn't want you. Nobody wants you. I hadn't called him in 6 years of having this phone. Not once. Not even on the nights when I lay on the basement floor, listening to the water heater hum, wondering what it would feel like to be wanted. But tonight, I had no other options. My fingers shook as I scrolled to the name. Deadbeat, do not call. I pressed the green button before I could talk myself out of it. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. 4 times. My heart sank. Of course. Of course he wouldn't answer. She was right. She was always right. Then, hello. A man's voice. Deep. Rough. Like he'd been sleeping or like he'd been crying. There was a rasp to it that I recognized because I had the same rasp in my own throat from all those years of swallowing my voice. Hello, he said again. Who is this? My mouth opened. Nothing came out. I can hear someone there, he said. His voice changed. Got softer. If this is a prank call, I'm not in the mood. But if someone needs help, I'm here. Just say something. Dad. The word felt foreign in my mouth. Too small. Too big. Like trying on a shoe that didn't belong to me. Silence. Long enough that I checked the screen to make sure the call hadn't dropped. Then, Lily. His voice cracked. Actually cracked, like a teenage boy going through puberty. A grown man's voice, splintering in half on the second syllable of my name. Lily, is that you? Baby, is that really you? Yes. I was crying now. I didn't know when I'd started. The tears were just suddenly there, hot and shameful on my cheeks. They left me. Mom and Stephen and Marcus. They drove away. I'm at a bus station. I don't know where. I don't have anywhere to go. Where? He was urgent now. I heard movement, a door opening, keys jangling. Where's the bus station? What city? Look around. Tell me what you see. I see a pawn shop. A liquor store. The sign says Greyhound, but the H is broken. That's the downtown station, he said. I heard a car engine start. I know where that is. Don't move. Do not move from that bench. I'm already on my way. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You're coming? I'm coming, Lily. I'm coming, and I'm never letting you go again. Hold on. Just hold on, baby. I'm coming. The line went dead. 22 minutes. I counted every one of them. Minute 1, I sat frozen on the bench, the phone clutched in my hands like a lifeline. What if he wasn't really coming? What if this was some kind of joke? What if my mother had been right all along? Minute 4, a woman approached me. She was thin, with missing teeth and a coat that had once been expensive. You got any change, sweetheart? I gave her $2. She looked at me for a long moment, and something in her face softened. You shouldn't be out here alone, she said. Then she walked away. Minute 7, the man in the stained coat. He approached from my blind side, and I didn't see him until he was already standing over me. Hey there, he said. His breath smelled like alcohol and decay. You need a ride somewhere? I got a car. No, thank you. I stood up. My legs were shaking. Come on, he said. It's cold out here. I got a blanket in the back. I walked into the bus station lobby. Fast. Not running attracts attention. But fast. The security guard was snoring in the corner, a donut on his chest rising and falling with each breath. I stood under the fluorescent lights and pretended to read a schedule I didn't understand. Minute 15, the man in the stained coat peered through the glass doors. He looked at me. He looked at the sleeping guard. He made a face, disgust, maybe, or disappointment, and walked away. Minute 16 through 21, I stood perfectly still. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I just watched the street through the glass, waiting for headlights. Minute 22. Headlights. But not the kind I expected. I'd pictured an old truck. A beat-up sedan. Something with duct tape and a check engine light. That's what Deadbeats drove. That's what my mother had prepared me for. But these headlights were sharp. Low to the ground. Xenon white, cutting through the grimy street like a blade through fog. The car that pulled up to the curb was the longest, shiniest thing I'd ever seen in real life. Silver. Immaculate. A Rolls Royce. I only knew what it was because I'd seen one in a magazine at the dentist's office once, back when Steven still bothered to take me to the dentist. The engine purred to a stop. The door opened. A man got out. He was tall, taller than Stephen, even, with broader shoulders and a straight back. His coat was dark charcoal wool, the kind that looked soft enough to sleep on. His shoes were polished. His watch caught the light. His face was the thing that stopped my heart. He looked like me. Same chin. Same cheekbones. Same dark hair, his graying at the temples, mine tangled and unwashed. Same eyes, I realized. The same tired, haunted eyes that stared back at me from every mirror I'd ever avoided. He stopped when he saw me. 10 feet apart. The bus station lights flickered overhead. Somewhere, the man in the wheelchair was still yelling at the pigeon. Lily. He said my name like it was the only word he'd been waiting his whole life to say. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Every story my mother had ever told me about this man was crumbling in real time, turning to dust in the space between his car and my frozen body. Deadbeat. Trailer park. Panhandler. Alcoholic. Arrested. The man standing in front of me looked like he owned buildings. Then his face crumpled. I watched it happen, the way his mouth pulled down, the way his eyes overflowed, the way his shoulders shook. He didn't try to hide it. He didn't turn away. He just fell apart, right there on the filthy sidewalk, in front of God and everyone. He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides. 3 long, desperate strides. And then he dropped to his knees, his expensive trousers soaking up the grime of the downtown gutter, and he pulled me into his arms. Not hard. Not rough. Gentle. So gentle. Like I was made of something precious. Something he'd been searching for his entire life. His arms wrapped around me, and I felt safe. For the first time in 12 years, I felt safe. He buried his face in my hair and he sobbed. Loud, ugly, choking sobs that shook his whole body. His tears fell on my shoulder, soaking through the thin fabric of my second-hand hoodie. I'm so sorry, he kept saying. The words were muffled against my head, but I heard everyone. I'm so sorry, Lily. I'm so sorry. I looked for you. I never stopped looking. She took you. She took you and I couldn't find you. I tried. I tried everything. I hired people. I spent money. He pulled back just enough to look at my face. His hands cupped my cheeks. His thumbs wiped away tears I didn't know I was crying. Look at you, he whispered. Look at you. You have my eyes. You have your grandmother's nose. You're so beautiful. You're so, baby, you're so thin. Have you been eating? Have you been? His voice broke again. He pulled me back in. I'm never letting you go again, he said. Never. 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 Do you understand me? You're coming home with me. Tonight. Right now. And we're going to figure this out. Together. I'm never going to let anyone hurt you again. And I stood there in the arms of a stranger who smelled like expensive cologne and coffee and something else, something that might have been safety, and I cried too. I cried for the 6-year-old who learned to boil water alone. I cried for the 7-year-old who held her breath in hallways. I cried for the 8-year-old who cooked dinner on a step stool. I cried for the 9-year-old who slept next to a water heater. I cried for the 10-year-old who memorized the shape of Stephen's belt. I cried for the 11-year-old who stopped believing anyone would ever come. And I cried for the 12-year-old who was finally held. He put me in the passenger seat of the Rolls Royce. The leather was warm. Heated seats, I realized. I'd never felt a heated seat before. He buckled my seatbelt for me. His hands were shaking so badly, he had to try 3 times to get the buckle to click. I have water in the back, he said. And some snacks. Protein bars. They're not very good, but they're something. Or we can stop somewhere. Anywhere you want. What do you want to eat, Lily? Anything. Name it. I couldn't name anything. I couldn't think. I was too busy staring at the interior of the car, the wood paneling, the soft glow of the dashboard lights, the way the doors closed with a sound like a bank vault. I don't know, I said. My voice was small. I've never. Okay, he said. He didn't push. He just started the engine and pulled away from the curb, one hand on the wheel and the other reaching over to hold mine. His hand was warm. Calloused, but warm. Okay, we'll figure it out. We have time. We have all the time in the world. We drove in silence for a while. The city lights blurred past the windows. I watched them and tried to remember how to breathe. Finally, I said, "Mom said you were a deadbeat." His jaw tightened. I saw his knuckles go white on the steering wheel. But when he spoke, his voice was calm, measured. "Your mother and I, we had a complicated relationship. I won't say I was perfect. I wasn't. But I never abandoned you, Lily. I never left you by choice. When you were 2 years old, your mother took you and moved across the country without telling me. By the time I found out where you were, she had a restraining order. She told the court I was violent, that I was a drug user. None of it was true, but she had evidence, fake evidence, and I had nothing. I was a 20-year-old kid working 2 jobs. I couldn't afford a lawyer who could fight her." He paused, took a breath. "I've spent 10 years trying to find you. 10 years of private investigators, court filings, dead ends. Every birthday, I sent a card to the last address I had. They always came back returned to sender. Every Christmas, I put a present under the tree for you, just in case. Just in case this year was the year." He looked at me then, just for a second. His eyes were red-rimmed. "I know those are just words. I know you have no reason to trust me. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it to you. If you let me." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat was too full. But I didn't let go of his hand. The house was not a trailer park. The house was a mansion. It sat at the end of a long driveway lined with oak trees. The kind of house that had a name instead of a number. Oakhaven, a wooden sign said, lit from below by landscape lights. The house itself was 3 stories of brick and stone, with tall windows glowing warm gold in the darkness. "It's just me," my father said as he pulled into the garage, "and a housekeeper who comes twice a week. Her name is Margaret. She's very nice. She's been asking about you for years." He turned off the engine. "I have a room for you," he said. I know that sounds, I don't know, presumptuous. But I always wanted you to know there was a place. Just in case. He taught me how to drive in that same Rolls Royce. I was terrified. The car was worth more than most people's houses, but he just laughed. "It's just a car, Lily. It can be replaced. You can't." He told me the truth about my mother, even when the truth was ugly. Even when the truth made him look bad. He did drink too much back then. He did lose jobs. He wasn't the man he is now. "You deserve to know the whole story," he said. "Not the fairy tale. Not the nightmare. Just the truth." And last year, when I had a breakdown in the middle of finals week, when I couldn't stop crying, when I kept apologizing for being a burden, when I told him he should just send me back because I was obviously broken and unfixable, he didn't get angry. He didn't get scared. He just held me. The same way he held me at the bus stop. "You're not broken," he said. "You're hurt. There's a difference. And hurt things can heal. They just need time. They need love. They need someone to sit with them while it hurts." He sat with me. He always sits with me. I still have the track phone. It's in a drawer in my dorm room, next to the granola bar wrapper from that plastic bag. I don't know why I keep them. Maybe as a reminder. A reminder of how low I was. A reminder of how far I've come. My father wanted to buy me a new phone the day after he picked me up. An iPhone. The latest model. "Whatever you want." I asked him if I could keep the track phone instead. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay," he said. "Okay, baby. Whatever you need." I still have the contact list, too. Mom. Steven. Marcus. The pizza place. And one other. I never changed the name. Even now, 6 years later, I never changed the name. Deadbeat, do not call. It's a lie, of course. The biggest lie my mother ever told me. But I keep it as a reminder of something else. A reminder that sometimes the people we're told are the villains turn out to be the heroes. A reminder that the word deadbeat can mean something completely different when you finally meet the man behind it. A reminder that love doesn't always look the way you expect it to. Sometimes it looks like a bus stop. Sometimes it looks like a Rolls Royce. Sometimes it looks like a man on his knees in the gutter, weeping into a little girl's hair because he finally found her. And sometimes it looks like a 12-year-old girl, picking up the phone and dialing a number she was never supposed to call. I called. He came. And that is the only story that matters.